All right, we're about to break down an official and frankly deeply disturbing law enforcement document. This is a direct look into the initial report for homicide case 81349A. And believe me, this case pushes the absolute boundaries of criminal investigation. Let's get into it.
Just let that sink in for a second. This one sentence pulled right from the case file, it just sets this incredibly chilling tone. It speaks to a cold, calculated plan, you know? This wasn't some crime of passion. This was a planned execution. So let's start right where the investigation did, with the first officer on the scene. We're going to lay out the facts exactly as they were recorded when they first arrived, at a scene that would pretty much defy all explanation.
You know, there's always this chilling contrast between the cold, bureaucratic look of an incident report and the absolute horror it's describing. Case number 81349A. Victim, John Doe. Suspects, multiple, and they're still out there. And the incident type? Homicide and cannibalism. This isn't just a report, it's the prologue to an absolute nightmare.
The initial synopsis makes it so clear, right from the jump, that this was not your typical homicide. The keywords here are prolonged torture and ritualistic dismemberment. I mean, that points away from just random violence and straight towards a methodical, organized act. What the report starts to think is, maybe the work of a cult.
Okay, so now that this scene is established, investigators are facing this just grim task of piecing together the victim's final moments. This next part, it dives right into the forensic reconstruction of the ritual itself. The crime scene was actually given a name, found in some materials at the location, the Hive. And wow, the name is terrifyingly fitting. This was a purpose-built chamber, a concrete sublevel with this massive open pit in the middle and an industrial harness hanging right over it. This place was designed for one horrible purpose. So what was in that pit? According to text messages they recovered, the pit was a literal lair, and it housed the perpetrators. And get this, they called themselves the undead or ghouls. This single detail completely transforms the investigation. It points to a group that's operating under some kind of deeply disturbing shared delusion.
Forensics teams used blood spatter, what was left of the victim, to build this horrifying timeline. So it starts with the victim suspended by that harness over the pit. Then the assault begins from below, with the assailants in the pit slashing at his feet and legs. The third stage, it's an act of what the report literally calls extreme fury, where his lower legs are torn off. He's then pulled down into the pit, into what's described as a raging mob. The final act is full dismemberment and consumption by the group. It's a chillingly methodical sequence of events.
And this is crucial. The report actually uses quotes from the perpetrator's own writings. They didn't see this as murder. They saw it as a hideous feast. It was this consumptive, ritualistic act that was driven by what they called a voracious and mindless hunger. So, with the how gruesomely established, the investigation has to shift to the who. The scene was an absolute chaotic mess, but it wasn't completely barren of clues. So, let's look at the critical evidence they left behind. Okay, so among the evidence, you've got the harness and the bone fragments, which were tragically to be expected. But then investigators found something that just didn't fit. Two components from musical instruments, just discarded nearby. This is the first clue that seems to completely break that ritualistic pattern. The components were labeled Solo Jack and Solo Pat, and this raises a huge question. Are these the names of the perpetrators, or are they a link back to the victim's life? Maybe he was a musician. Right now, these names are the most solid lead the investigators have. And that brings us right up to the current state of the investigation. You got to remember, this isn't some historical account. This is an active, ongoing manhunt for the people responsible for what happened in the Hive. The official status is clear: active homicide. And law enforcement isn't just looking for one person. They're searching for a group. They believe there's a main leader, who they call the priest, and a bunch of followers, the ghouls, and they are all still out there, at large. So because this is an active case, a BOLO has been issued. That just stands for Be on the Lookout. It's an alert sent to all officers. And I mean, can you even imagine getting this particular alert? Be on the lookout for a charismatic leader and any individuals exhibiting, and I'm quoting here, cannibalistic tendencies. Unbelievable! And so we have to end where the investigation is right now, with two absolutely terrifying, unanswered questions.
Who is this priest who is so capable of inspiring these horrific acts? And where in the world did his followers, the ghouls of the hive, go after their feast? The hunt is on.